Welcome to Passion and Profit. If you're a small business owner or solo entrepreneur, this episode is for you. It would not only help you achieve your business goals, but it will also help you enjoy the process. Let's get started.
So really knowing how to pitch yourself, right? And storytelling comes into play here too. You want to be really intentional with who you're working with to put yourself out there, to put your story out there. And you want to make sure that it's really aligned with who you are and who your brand is.
Passion and Profit with your host, Delmith Morales, the podcast for makers and manufacturers. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Delmith. This podcast is created by Inventora, the all-in-one inventory system for makers and manufacturers. We're so happy to have you here again with us. Today, we are going to be talking with Krystal Jugarap about becoming your own PR person. We already discussed one very good topic with Krystal, and if you haven't heard the episode, please, after this one, just go check that out because it's really good. She, as I mentioned before, she is the CEO and founder of the innovative jewelry store line BOOKofBIJOUX and a community platform empowered by women. So this has allowing her to be super hyper focused on the brand's core values of women empowerment, community over competition, and giving back. So Krystal, thank you so much again for being with us. Please, I'll leave you the time to say hello and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I think you got the introduction down, Pat. But it's always a pleasure chatting with you, Delmith. So I'm always glad to be here. Thank you so much for continuing to have me. But yes, so we launched BOOKofBIJOUX, which is actually this beautiful black book behind me, in 2021. And shortly afterwards, our Empowered by Women community platform, where we're really focused on empowering other women, other small business owners, giving them a platform to share their stories, increase their brand visibility. And honestly, it's just a really amazing space that I personally love to be in. I love being surrounded by other women who are just doing their thing and, tackling their fears head on and recognizing what their purpose is and really allowing themselves to lean into that. So I'm here for it. And I'm here to continue supporting other women in that regard in whatever way that I can. So I love that you are also providing a similar platform. But of course, you're not specifically to women, just other makers, small business owners. So we're definitely aligned there. And I'm happy to be here.
No, thank you so much for always saying yes. I love to talk with you because you have a lot of experience in different areas. And I know that our community is going to love it and it's going to find your content very useful, not only in the business side, but you can also apply it to the personal side of our life, which is also so good. Like we can implement things in business and personal life. And yeah, I think this one in a specific, now that we have heard about PR and that's so important for businesses right now and to have connections and relationships and partner with others. And probably sometimes it's hard for us to know where to start or how to actually do that. So I would like for you to start sharing your journey and how have you done this for your brands as well.
Absolutely. So this is something that I love to talk about, especially for people that are just getting started. Because it's often, there's that misconception that you need to be this big established brand with so many years under your belt and so many accolades for you to just be recognized and have the opportunity to be seen in certain lights, right? But that simply isn't the case. So we're talking all about publicity, being your own PR person. Of course, once you get to that level, which all of you listening, you can get to that level where you are that big established brand, with all these accolades. But before you get there, we, of course, as entrepreneurs, we wear all the hats. And being your own PR person is absolutely one of them that you can start wearing right away, right? You don't have to wait till you have established all of these different things or hit all of these big milestones. I want to encourage everyone to really start putting your story out there as soon as possible, right? While you're going on your journey, you are slowly building that expertise in whatever your industry is. Your journey is continuing to evolve, your story is unfolding, and you're learning so many things along the way that can already be so helpful to the people around you. You don't have to have hit that $1 million mark or whatever for you to be able to start sharing your story. And you also don't have to wait for someone to come knocking at your door or sliding into your DM saying, hey, I want to feature you in this. Would you be open to it? Absolutely not. I am such a proponent of do not wait for opportunity to knock. Be the one that goes knocking. There are so many opportunities that are just waiting for you to show up and to share your story. With us, like I said, I launched Book of Bijou in late 2021 and then Empowered by Women at the beginning of 2022. It's coming on 2 years now. And the very first year, it was, very slow because I was still kind of navigating what it was that I wanted to create with that platform. But over the past few months, I feel like our visibility has been ramping up tremendously. And it's because there are so many ways to put yourself out there. We've been featured in a couple of magazines. I am now a global speaker and am booked for a summit that is going to be a virtual summit, but it's on a global platform where, thousands of women come to watch. And I didn't have a team behind me doing that for me, right? Doing that outreach. But it was right there, right at my fingertips. One of my mantras, I don't know if I've said this in any of our previous episodes, but one of my mantras that I love to live by with our business is living loudly passionate. And I think that's definitely a big part of it, right? Being willing to be loud about what you're doing so that you can show up. And then publicity is just the first step, right? Publicity is putting yourself out there, being visible, but then being your PR person is also being able to control the narrative of how people see you and what light they see you and how they feel about you and your brand. And that's where, the storytelling comes into play. This is personally why I love written publications or speaking gigs and things like this, like podcasts, where I can really dive deep into all of the things that we're doing and share my passion and share the feedback that we've received. I think I've been in almost 10 podcasts this year, which is great. I feel like it's just a start. There's actually a whole bunch more that I'm lining up for. And that's exciting. Yeah. It is really exciting. And I found my love for, just speaking about our story. And I've already seen in so many instances, like where people are coming and finding us. And they don't only hear about us or read about us or see about us or whatever, then they come to our platform. And that's really where the story piece comes into play. And that's where the, the feelings that you're putting out there, your PR comes into play, because that's what's hooking them in. How are you making them feel in that moment when they're listening to you or watching you or reading about you? So being able to be your own storyteller and really show up authentically, I think is so important for any small business owner to really reflect on how they show up, how they want to be perceived, and figuring out ways to diversify it too. I think with a lot of small businesses, one of the main ways that we work on building our brand visibility is showing up in markets, right? Because it's common where we have a product line, we're making things, we want to sell those things, so we're putting ourselves out there. And while being in a market is great visibility, it also kind of takes away that opportunity to tell your story, especially if it's a really busy market, right? Because people are coming and going and you're just trying to package up their bags and send them on their way. So that's why I'm really, a proponent for reaching out to other avenues of where you can be seen, whether it be podcasts like this, article features, things like that. So I guess long story short, that is, something that I'm definitely very passionate about. I've been working on completely on our end. And I want to remind other people that they can do it too. And it's really not as hard as you might think.
And I love to sit, like you mentioned, you don't have to wait for someone to knock at your door and say, hey, do you want to do this? And the advantage of starting it by yourself is, like you said, you are the one saying the right words that you want people to listen to and to start talking about your business. So for me, in my experience, it was like, if I don't do it, no one else is going to hear from me. And I'm so thankful that now we have multiple ways to do it. Like you said, articles. You can also write a blog for someone about your business or about your experiences. The podcast that has been like such a good thing this year. And I really enjoy to do that, because you are telling your story the way that you want to, and people are going to start understanding and saying, okay, I listened to that in the podcast, and now I'm seeing it in a magazine, and now in a blog feature or something like that. And they're going to start remembering your brand and matching those words that you said about you. And you're going to have like that brand message in every time that everyone is seeing you and listen to you, right?
And with all of those different avenues that you can take to really be your own PR person, you can really align it to, again, how you want to show up, but also with what you're comfortable with, especially starting out, right? Because it can feel very overwhelming to be like, oh my God, I have to like go speak live or do these interviews. And if you're not a natural speaker, no, you don't have to start out that way. That's totally okay. Like what you said, you can be a guest writer on a blog, or you can there are certain magazines that have interview questions kind of already bulleted out for you, so you can really think about your answer and you don't have to be creative in the way that you write or what kind of article or topic or whatever the case may be. So really kind of tailor it to what you're comfortable with. And then eventually that's just going to expand over time. And then using that, having all of those little things behind you is only going to help build your credibility and your expertise in the industry even more. People are going to be able to see, wow, this person is all over the place, or they've been doing all of these things. Maybe they are this really big, incredible brand with all these accolades, right? And you're kind of already building yourself up to that place. Even if you might feel like, I'm just this small person doing this small business and I don't know what I'm doing, it doesn't matter. Again, PR is about creating that perception, right? Really controlling the narrative. What do you want people to see? How do you want to show up? How do you want to make them feel? And so there are so many different ways that you can do that.
Yeah, and I must say that at the beginning, it's not going to be perfect. Like, you're going to make mistakes, probably. You're going to say things that you don't want to say, or you're missing information. But for me, being a small business owner is always about stepping out your comfort zone, and you're going to learn so much. And for example, for me, when I started, it was like, no, I'm not going to do videos because I'm very shy. I don't want to talk to a screen or do reels or something like that. But once you start gaining like trust in yourself, and you're getting used to talk about more about your business, everything is like, you know what? Let's try it. It's not that bad. But like you said, it's going to take time, and all that process is going to help you like get better and sell your business even better, right?
Absolutely, 100%. You don't need to know everything. You're not going to be a pro at everything. I am not going to claim to be a pro at everything. Even now, even though I've been on so many podcasts and I have already been featured in a couple of magazines and I've been speaking, I don't consider myself a pro. There are so many things that I continue to learn along the way. And I really think that's the beauty of the journey, right? You absolutely need to be open to that learning curve and just having some grace with yourself, because it's not always pretty, but it is about taking action and willing to put your foot forward and put yourself out there and dive into the unknown, because eventually it will no longer be the unknown, right? You're starting to kind of uncover layer by layer. Okay, I'm learning more about this. This is starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. I don't mind showing up as much now. I mean, look at you, Delmith. You're like all over the place on these videos and talking to people nonstop. And you do such a great job of it. And you also are able to get feedback from other people, right? Of how you're showing up and what they want to see, what they want to hear from you. So that kind of transitions into the how of it, right? Like, okay, Krystal, that sounds great. Yeah, supposedly it's so easy, but how do I do it? How do I find all these things? Seriously, it really is so easy. For me, when I started, we had a podcast. We have a podcast still on our platform, on Empowered by Women. Check it out if you haven't already. But I also wanted to be a guest on other people's podcasts. And of course, if you're already in the podcasting world, you've most likely listened to other people's podcasts. And usually when you're looking for other podcasts, the ones that come up are really established podcasts, and they might be a little bit harder to get into, but that doesn't mean you can't pitch yourself. So really knowing how to pitch yourself, right? And storytelling comes into play here too. You want to be really intentional with who you're working with to put yourself out there, to put your story out there. And you want to make sure that it's really aligned with who you are and who your brand is. Because I work, primarily with women, and I'm all about women empowerment. So I'm not going to go on some random podcast about like tech things that have nothing to do with my industry and with the people that I work with. So being intentional about it, not just, mass sending out all of these pitches, and then also being really mindful to, what is the word? It's right on the tip of my tongue, to specify your pitch. What is that word? Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. But like, do your research ahead of time of who you're reaching out to, right? Is it the podcast manager? Is it the person that's actually hosting? Know their name. Listen to a few episodes and understand why whatever it is that you want to tell them fits in with their audience and what they're already doing on their podcast. This is going to help open up that door a little bit more for them to really be interested in, like, okay, this sounds great. Like, I love what you're telling me. I think our audience is going to really resonate with it. I would love to have you on the podcast. And so really being mindful of how you're pitching yourself can make all of the difference. It's not just like, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. Let me know. That probably won't go far in a lot of places. With that said, there are also a ton of other podcasts that aren't as established, but that doesn't make them bad podcasts, right? So one of the things that I do is whenever I'm scrolling on Instagram, if I see any podcast that I think might align with my mission, with my audience, I save it. I have a saved folder on Instagram of all these potential podcasts I could pitch myself to. I've always listened to a couple of episodes before I pitch myself because, again, I want to make sure my message is aligned. I want to not be repeating what their most recent episodes were. I want to give them something fresh, something new, and I want to be able to tailor my pitch to whatever it is that I'm offering them, right? And with these newer podcasts, they are, always looking for new people to come on, and they're so willing to share your story, to have you come on. And even for the people that are not as comfortable speaking, I think that's a great way to dip your toes in the water, right? If you're dealing with a podcast that doesn't have as big of an audience, like, okay, let me test this out, right? Let me test out the waters, see how it feels for me to be on the receiving end of this interviewee, of this host, and then see how it goes from there. And then the great thing about that is that you're going to live forever on their podcast. You can also use it as content on your own. Again, continuing to establish your expertise, really telling your story and controlling your narrative of how people are finding you and how people are seeing you. Same thing with written publications and blogs. Just looking for what's out there, kind of having a list to yourself, and then reaching out to the people that you really resonate with, and being mindful of how you're pitching it to them. Did you have something to say? It looks like you wanted to jump in.
Absolutely. I think for me, this part is key because it's a very smart way to sell your service or your product, but not like saying, hey, I do, like, for example, me, I make handmade baskets, buy them. Or no, right? It's like a very smart way to say, hey, I make this, I learned this, I help other people by doing X, Y, and Z, and telling your story, and have so many creative ways to do it instead of saying, hey, I just want you to buy this from me. So I think creating those opportunities to have that opportunity to share your pitch, if you don't have one, I recommend you to do one, because that's going to be the key factor for you to be successful with your business. If you don't have a pitch, like say, hey, and what's your business about? And you are like, well, I do this, right? No, you should start saying, well, I started this because I have a passion for this. I think that's very important, and it's also going to help you start doing this type of things, right? Doing podcasts, doing creative content, and reaching out to other people. And if you have it, it's going to be easier for them to understand what you do. Because like you said, if you just say, hey, I just want to be on your podcast, then please let me know. It's like, but I don't know who you are. Like, please give me more information. So I think like perfecting your pitch or having one, it's a key factor to do this.
Absolutely. And all of these opportunities that you do have to come and speak on someone's podcast or be featured in their blog or their magazines or whatever, they also give you that opportunity to link your website, right? So it's like you're starting to build this relationship with their viewers or their listeners or their readers with who you are as a person before you even go into like, this is where you can shop my candles. Now they've had the opportunity to fall in love with you, to fall in love with why you're doing what you're doing, and be like, oh my gosh, like I resonate with her story so much. I want to support her as a person. I know we've talked about that plenty, where at the end of the day, people just want to support other people because that's humans, right? That's in our human nature. We want to connect with other people. We want to support people that we know. And if they're reading your story, they feel like they know a little bit more about you versus just coming across your website and seeing all of your beautiful things, which of course, that could convert customers. But again, we're giving them that opportunity to build a little bit more trust and a little bit more loyalty to us and to our brand.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And to be honest, like I said before, right now we have tons of opportunities like that. And people are very open to it. Don't be afraid to reach out. And for me, for example, with Inventora, I do all the partnerships. And at the beginning, when I started, it was like, I don't know if it's like, I'm going to reach out to 10 people and that's it because it's too much. But once you are there, like from the 10 people you're reaching out, probably one is going to answer your email, So I think it's the mindset that you have to have is like, I'm going to open those doors for my business and I'm going to reach out to a lot of people. Of course, having in mind like the things that you said that aligns to your business, businesses that are sharing the same things that you, or some like the community is going to be helpful for your business as well. But that is something that you also need to know. Like, you don't have to say, okay, today I'm just going to reach out to 10 and that's it. And I'm going to try next month. No, you have to do it very constantly in order to start seeing results.
Mhm. Yeah. And when you mentioned Inventora, it automatically made me think of Diana and her brand Tarot, right? Where when I interviewed her, I think last year, she was telling me about how she pitched herself to, I can't remember who she pitched herself to, but she was just starting out and she was reaching out to people like crazy. And she was able to pitch herself to this magazine or whatever that was based in St. Louis, where she's based. And she was able to pitch herself as like, I'm this homegrown candle business. I'm based in St. Louis. I'm local. And that was her first big order, right? She made that connection. She was still brand new in her business. She didn't wait till she had years already in her belt. She made that opportunity for herself. And that was really a key starting point for her and her brands to really build her publicity, her PR, and have people in the St. Louis area be like, oh my God, I love this. This is a local brand, someone that I want to support. It feels like home. It feels very cozy. It feels very nostalgic. And that's the perception that she was starting to create, all because she stepped out there and started reaching out. Another really great way to do it is by building your community and your network, which is something that you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, is finding all of those key connections. If you are not yet starting to build your network, absolutely do it. And with this global speaking summit that I'm part of, that was because of my network, right? And it was because I was allowing myself to live loudly, passionate, and tell people, this is what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to speak more. So if you have anyone you know that is looking for a speaker, or any platforms that you know of, feel free to send them my way. This is such a great way to find those opportunities because they're almost like already vetted, right? These are people that are familiar with these other podcasters or people that run the articles or whatever, and they're being referred to you, and like you have an in now. That connection, that middle person, can be part of how you pitch yourself. Hey, Delmith, I heard about you from my friends. We were all talking about this, and this. I love what you're doing, and I think I would love to be able to contribute to it in any way possible. That is another great way to get your foot in the door, because it really becomes this tree of connections, right? The more you're allowing yourself to meet other people, to network, and to build your own community, they also have their community, and you're starting to gain access to all of the resources that they have.
Even if you just participate in a small event, and they see just your logo, for example, that's fine. That's also something that can help you with your PR, right? Your relationships. They're just gonna say, hey, I saw that logo in that event and now I'm seeing it in this one too, or now I'm seeing the person behind that brand here. But like you said, that is something that has been happening a lot with Inventora. Like, we do sponsorships, like that's something different, but we do sponsorships for markets or something like that. And they saw Inventory in one market, and then people started talking, hey, we have a sponsorship, or we have an event coming up. Would you like to be part of? So those things are, like you said, the tree of connections that is going to help you connect with more people. And once you are very active on that area of your business, you're going to start seeing people coming without you even searching for them, right? And I love that. For me, that's something so easy. and so successful.
Absolutely. And again, building on the concept of not waiting for opportunity to knock, even if you are, sponsoring an event, just like Inventora does, and maybe, the initial agreement is that you'll provide whatever financial compensation, and then they'll add your logo to marketing materials. But any kind of connection you build like that, I really love trying to figure out how we can take it a step further, right? Relationships don't have to be one and done. It's always building and building and building and seeing what we can do to continue working together, to continue building our visibility together. So especially with things like that, where it might seem, you don't have that opportunity to speak and share your story typically when you're a sponsor, right? But figuring out is there anything else that we can continue to do in the future where that opportunity is afforded to me? I think there's always those little hidden gems in every relationship that you have. And I know that it's something that continues to kind of just roll around in my brain. I'm always trying to think of creative ways that I can continue working with people to build that relationship. And it really is a give and take relationship, right? Not only for how I can continue to build my brand, my visibility, but how we can work together to do that as a collective.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you're saying that, I remember that when we started partnerships with Inventora, we started with, for example, let's do a newsletter exchange, and the people were going to see the website of Inventora and a special offer for them, the community of that brand, for them to use Inventora, and that was it. But then I was thinking, and like you said, you need to start thinking about things that you can do after that. So that was for me the first touch. And then I said, maybe they don't understand what Inventora is really about. So I wrote an email and they said, and telling this brand, hey, do you know what? I saw that you have a Facebook group. Why don't we do a live, and I can talk to your community about what Inventora is about, how can they use it, and how can we help them. So that way, we started to see so much growth because people were like, oh, I saw that they have a discount code, and I know that they were in inventory system, but now I know how to use it. So those little details that can help your brand be stronger and get to know more people and reach out more people, it's the key for the PR success. I think that is very helpful as well.
Yeah. And I love that you were really mindful of paying attention to what was working, right? So you kind of did it the first time and you're like, wow, that really helped us to convert all of these people to paying customers or to members or whatever, your business is. And leaning into that, right? Finding other avenues where you can start repeating that process. Another thing that I want to bring up is, especially for the people that are still not yet comfortable with putting themselves out there, with telling their story, they're still kind of fine-tuning the way that they want to show up for themselves. Another way that you can really help to create your own narrative and start in influencing this perception of your brand to all of the people around you is by relying on UGC, or user-generated content, right? Which is another thing that I love. So if anyone is unfamiliar with this, like if you have a product business, let's say candles, for example, having your users creating content on their end of your candles, whether that's taking a picture of where they've styled it in their home, or then using it while they're reading a book by the fireplace, or even doing like a video review, or even just posting a review. Having the customer create that content for you really, really helps to sell your story and that narrative, that perception that you want your audience to have, right? Well, obviously, if it's positive feedback. But if they're coming on and creating this, like, oh my God, I love this candle. I've been burning it for however many days, and it makes me feel so relaxed. They are telling your story for you, and you're able to influence that perception. And when other people that maybe have not yet been warmed up to your brand or your product, have not yet purchased your product, and they start to see other people creating that kind of content or submitting those kinds of reviews and testimonials, that starts building your credibility without really you having to do any work at all.
I love that. That's my favorite part of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy. But the one place that people kind of trip up is they don't ask for it. Right? So I know some people feel like, it's kind of icky. I don't want to like ask people to post reviews. It doesn't have don't make a big deal out of it, right? Make it a part of your automation process. If you're sending out emails to your customers already, and these are already templates that you have lined up, have that as part of your email. Thank you so much for purchasing. Like, if you don't mind, if you could just leave us a quick review, that would be so helpful. I see it on a lot of business cards, like tag us and then we'll repost you. Things like that are so great. And I think also including it in your feed, like if we're talking about Instagram and having it live there forever, is a great way to do it. Or even if you're just sharing it on your stories, having it in your highlight reel so that it, again, can continue to be watched. So helpful in really solidifying that story that you're selling of your brands.
Yes, I think that it's so useful, and probably it's not going to work with all the people. People doesn't like to leave reviews, but once you start like having 1-2 reviews, it is going to help you so much, because I put myself in the position of a buyer, and I always say, let's read the reviews. Let's see what people are saying about this. So I think once you start doing that, if you don't do it, it's an easy way to start like promoting your brand in a free way. I think it's very useful.
Yeah, and you want to start putting it in all the places, right? Being mindful of that too. So don't just collect them and do nothing with it. Or like I said, even if you're posting it on your stories, those go away after 24 hours. So find a permanent place for it in your highlights. Make sure it's on your website. Make sure people that are looking for it can find it very easily, so they feel comfortable shopping with you and with your brands. Again, so easy once you start having a system for it, because it's already content that's being created for you. So you're not having to rack your brain of like, what kind of reel can I create today? Like, what am I going to write? Like, these are already done for you content, and it's by a third party. So it's really establishing your credibility.
Absolutely. And it's very authentic. So I think that's even more rewarding for you to have everywhere, because it's what people are saying about your brand. So I think if you get those compliments and reviews, of course, positive reviews, it's going to be something that you can use everywhere, and it's going to help you a lot with the growth of your business.
Mm-hmm. And then even, if we continue to build on this, working with influencers, it's not something that really works with my business, but if that's something that resonates with your business, that's another way to get really great UGC, is by working with influencers, sending them packages, and having them create that content for you. Obviously, if you can do it without the influencers, it's a little bit better on your end, because these are actually people buying your product, so you're still able to profit from it. You're not having to ship out free things, but that's absolutely another avenue that you can pursue. And again, like what we talked about, make sure that you are reflecting on each of these ways that you're putting yourself out there, and making sure that it makes sense for your business, right? I'm a fan of just trying everything out, at least once. I have nothing against that. But being mindful about how it actually impacted your business after the fact, and whether it's worth pursuing again. Because you might find, oh yeah, that doesn't really work out for my business. I didn't really get much from it. Okay, that's fine. You tried it. You got some content or whatever. You got a feature out of it. Cool. move on to the next thing. Again, there are so many different opportunities out there waiting for you. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there. And again, be the one that knocks, right? Create your own opportunities. Be your own PR person. You do not need a team. You do not need to wait for that special magical DM to come sliding to you. You can be the one that slides into to others' DMs. And with that said, I do recommend voice messages. I think that's another great way to really add that element of authenticity to it when you're pitching yourself via voice message. I've done it in the past. It's proven really successful for me. So another thing to keep in mind. But so many opportunities. Keep building your community. Keep asking for those opportunities, the referrals, saving everything that you're coming across. Even if you're just creating a list, but you don't have time to reach out to everyone right away, that's fine. At least you have this vault of opportunities waiting for you to reach out to them when you are able to, when you have the capacity to do so. You're not scrambling to find, okay, what's my next step? What's my next move? You already have that list. And having a system in place for how you want to show up. And sky's the limit.
Yay. I love that. I think that's the perfect way to end the podcast. Like, you sum up everything that we discussed. And just don't be afraid. Like you said, the sky's the limit. And we are our own bosses when we are owning a small business. So you can try whatever. If something doesn't work, that's okay. Move on. It's something that you learn, and keep trying. And this part of the relationship part of the businesses, honestly, for me, it's one of the most important, because it's the one that is going to help you build a community, build a stronger brand, and be able for you to scale your business as well.
Yeah. It's also the most fun, having these relationships, building that.
It's so refreshing as well for you to start connecting with people, and you say, "Hey, I'm not alone. A lot of people are in my position as well." So, I think that's something that you can really enjoy doing once you understand the passion and the benefits of it, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Krystal, for being here, for all of this information. Everyone, there you have my conversation with Krystal. Please go check out Krystal and her business in the link of the show notes. I hope you find this episode helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a follow, and if you like the episode, please share it with your friends. And thank you for being here. Until next time. If you're interested to learn more about Inventora to help plan any products or group of products that need to be made, visit Inventora.com.